Boom! Welcome, people, to another Monday, to another Premier League preview show. We just had a great weekend of Premier League football, highs and lows. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to talk about the latest news, the breaking news, what happened, what's going on, and also we're going to look forward to tonight's game. So we'll go topic by topic. We'll talk about it. Let's go. Boom! So the first topic we're going to talk about is the Anfield disaster. That's right, the Anfield disaster. Yesterday at 4:30, a football game kicked off between two giants of English football, Liverpool versus Manchester United. Now, it was a great game, absolutely fantastic. I was worried it might be a ball fest. I was worried Manchester United will just set up so defensively that Liverpool are just going to keep knocking on the door, might get one goal. Man United might counter-attack. I was either looking at a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw, a bore fest, nothing special. However, it was absolutely fantastic. It was so spicy. Tackles were flying in. People are getting injured. Chance after chance, one end to the other. It was just a great football match. Why was it called the Anfield disaster? Now, before this game, Liverpool had 3 losses on the trot. That's right, 3 losses. First, it was Crystal Palace. Then it was Galatasaray in Europe. Then they came back and had to play Chelsea. Last minute win for Chelsea. So it became so bad for Liverpool that this was a must-win game for several reasons. Must win because of those 3 losses. Must win because it's at Anfield. And must win because it's against their fiercest and arch enemies, Manchester United. So what happened in the game was, as soon as the ball kicked off, within 1 minute and 1 second, Amad played a fantastic ball into the box for Bryan Mbeumo, who didn't hesitate. One touch, one shot, straight away past the goalkeeper. 1-0 for Manchester United. That was within the first minute, guys, and that set up a fantastic football match. A great advertisement for the Premier League. Wonderful. I hope that all of Europe and the whole world was watching this game because it was marvelous. Now, the disaster bit came later down the line because although Manchester United scored a goal very early, they kept knocking on the door. They didn't just sit back and try to defend that lead. No, they tried to create chance after chance, and that's without Sesko being on the pitch yet. It was the front 3 of Cunha and Mbeumo and Mount. Great setup by Ruben Amorim. I know a lot of Manchester United fans do not want him at the club, but for that game yesterday, whether it was him, whether it was just the players, whether it was just the moment, the atmosphere, that particular game, we'll find out when Manchester United play next. However, I said it in my live stream, something clicked, something worked. Something was said that got drilled into the head of the Manchester United players, and they just went ham on Liverpool. Absolutely ham. They did not stop. They defended well. They attacked well. Yes, there were gaps in midfield at times that were very dangerous. And look, Liverpool didn't sit back or did not do anything. It's not like Liverpool had the worst of games. No, by all means, Liverpool were attacking. Cody Gakpo hit the post twice. Isak had a chance. Mo Salah had a chance. And look, they kept on trying and trying and trying. But Manchester United were resilient. Manchester United were brave. Manchester United said, no, we're not losing this game. We're making Anfield our home. We're cooking here. We're sleeping here. We're partying here. This is our home today. That's what was said. That's what happened, and that's how the game ended, guys. So Liverpool kept on going, kept on going, kept on going. They made changes in the second half. They brought Ekitike on. They took Isak off. Now, I will say that our players within the Liverpool team yesterday, especially the ones started, that didn't have the best of games. I will say, although Isak tried, didn't reach the heights that we know him for, or the reason why Liverpool bought him, has not got there yet. But you never know. Players go through a drought sometimes. They'll look very bad. They'll look terrible. But when they come back, they're slicing people up. Anyway, Isak didn't have a great game. Mo Salah didn't have a great game. Who else didn't have a great game for Liverpool? Those two. I'm sure there was a few others. Cody Gakpo was probably one of their best players. Kirkes didn't have a great game. Virgil van Dijk didn't have a great game. However, Konate did slightly better than previously. So although Virgil van Dijk wasn't at his peak, Konate stepped up a little bit and had a slightly better game than he had previously. Around the 65th or 70th minute, Cody Gakpo came up with an equalizer, ran into the box, square pass. I think it was by maybe Frimpo. I don't remember. Somebody squared the ball across the box. Cody Gakpo was there like a poacher to tuck it away. 1-1 at Anfield. So that was very disappointing. I was so upset because I thought Man United were going to crumble. I thought they're going to crack. I thought it was going to break. But guess what? They did not. Manchester United, like I said, stepped up, dominated even more. And guess what? Harry Maguire, guys. I'm going to say this again. Harry Maguire came once again, stepped up with his head, bish bash bosh, 2-1 Manchester United, and they took the victory from Liverpool at Anfield. Great win for Manchester United. Harry Maguire, once again, he's a last-minute merchant, or he's a last-moment merchant. He's several times now he's come up with the goods. He's come up and stepped up and won the game for Manchester United. And not only just won the game wearing the captain's armband. Now, what does that tell you? Although the armband was taken away from him, Bruno Fernandes does not look like a captain at the moment, is not playing his best football, especially in yesterday's game. He wasn't one of Man United's best players, although he did chip in here and there, had a great chance to score a goal, didn't, but they ended up winning. That's the reason it's called the Anfield disaster. It was the Anfield murder. It was the Anfield cooking. It was the Anfield destruction by Manchester United. I'm so happy for them. I obviously don't support Manchester United, but I'm in competition with Liverpool at the moment. I don't want them to gain points. I don't want them to do well. So anybody, even, enemy of my enemy, today is my friend. So well done, Manchester United. Good on you guys. Good for Ruben Amorim. And I'm going to say one more thing before I'm going to move on. This is a great boost for their morale, for their mental, for their camp, for their energy. It's a great boost for Manchester United. Now, this is a building block, Ruben Amorim. This game was a building block. Use it to build a foundation of a culture at Manchester United that they're known for, that they used to have, that their fans remember. Build upon this game. I'm not saying that I want you guys to win leagues. And no, of course I don't, because I want to do that. But it's a shame to see such a great club, such a big club being in those lows and those dumps. I just want you guys to come out of it. So good luck with that. Like I said, this is a building stone, a foundation to build upon. Good luck. I hope you do it. Let's move on. Now we move on to the next topic. The next topic is the Cottagers were stubborn. That's right. We're going to talk about the game at Craven Cottage between Fulham and Arsenal. It's a London derby. It was a great game. It was fantastic. Now let's talk about it a little bit. Let's unravel that game. The reason why this segment or topic is called The Cottagers Were Stubborn, because Arsenal barely scraped a 1-0 win at the Craven Cottage. It wasn't the greatest game, especially the first half, but they did it by huff and by puff. They got the 3 points. They went there and they got a victory. Now, the reason why I say that it wasn't a great game, especially the first half, is because Arsenal did not play to their best ability. They were very sloppy. They gave passes away. They lost the ball. They got caught in possession. But saying all that, they backed that up by defending with their lives. They did not let Fulham get the ball in the back of the net. They huffed and they puffed Fulham. However, Arsenal were determined. We had a great back line. We had some great defensive play. And the reason is because the whole team was defending as a unit. It wasn't just 2 or 3 players. Everyone tracked back. Everyone set up a blockade when Fulham were attacking. However, they themselves weren't playing free-flowing, beautiful, Yoga Bonito type football. No, it was very scrappy, very scruffy, very anticlimactic, but they got the job done. Now, some of the players didn't have their best game. For me, especially, the goal scorer himself, Leandro Trossard, didn't have the best game for me. I'll be honest with you. The people that had great games were Gabriel Saliba, I'd say Zubamendi, and Declan Rice, maybe. That's pretty much it. Saka as captain as well had a great game, but that's pretty much it. Everyone else fell a little bit below that line. And for me, especially Leandro Trossard. Now, I love Leandro Trossard. I'm a big fan of his. However, in this game, didn't do what we really needed, but eventually did because he got the goal and we needed that goal and he got us the 3 points. So hats off to Leandro Trossard. Well done. Thank you. Hopefully the next game is going to get better. But like I said, the first half, not really that good. The old talk about Arsenal had the handbrake on or didn't play in second or third gear. Now there's talk coming out about how Arsenal doesn't even have second, third or fourth gear, which is ridiculous because obviously we've got a 5-0 win, 3-0 win, 2-0 win, 1-0. We can play every way. We have many different gears. It just depends on how the team sets up against us. And look, listen, it's not a given to go and batter teams every week. It just doesn't happen. Chelsea didn't win the league like that. And trust me, Manchester United did not win leagues by constantly battering teams with free-flowing football every week. So it's not really, you have to sometimes scrape by with a 1-0 or a 2-1 or whatever. So anyway, like I said, the first half in this game wasn't great, but the reason why the segment is called The Cottagers Were Stubborn is because Fulham tried their best. They were so stubborn in letting us through their back lines to score a goal. So they kept pushing us back. They kept stopping us. Leno had a fantastic game. Their goalkeeper, wow. I mean, I've seen him play before and I've seen him make great saves and have good games, but did he have a good game against us? Wow, because there's some shots and some chances that we could have scored. Even Gyökeres, when he hit him and he made himself big and blocked him and the goal didn't go in. So it's great for Fulham because they come in off of 2 losses on a row, both of them 3-1. They did win 3-1 before that, but they were desperately looking for a win, didn't get it. However, it was against Arsenal. They can't complain too much. And Marco Silva didn't because he looked at his team. They did try their best. They did perform. They did make it difficult for Arsenal. So well done on Fulham. And that's why it's called The Cottagers Were Stubborn, because they definitely were. But that's pretty much it. There was not much to say about this game. It was a boring 1-0, I'd say, but it's the old adage, 1-0 to the Arsenal, and that's how we won, and that's how we'll take the 3 points, no problem at all. Now, I'm going to talk about something that's obviously now a little bit old news, but it was breaking news on Saturday. It happened right in the afternoon within the first game that played in the Premier League. It was Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. It was crunch time for Ange Postecoglou, and Ange Postecoglou, unfortunately, during that game or right at the end of that game, got sacked by Marinakis. That's right, guys. He got sacked. He got told to hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. No more, no more. Ange Postecoglou, unfortunately, guys, he was told to leave. He left. He packed up, and Marinakis now is looking for another manager. Now, what do I think and how do I feel about the sacking of Ange Postecoglou? I will be honest. Ange Postecoglou doesn't, at the moment, look like he is competent to manage in the Premier League. Now, that could be for several reasons. It could be that his time at Tottenham brought his stock down and brought his own confidence in himself. And maybe he started questioning himself, whether he's capable and has the ability to manage in the Premier League. But I think there's more to it than that. I have a feeling that Ange Postecoglou jumped into another job a little bit too soon. He went and got another job a little bit too quick. He should have celebrated his victory in the Europa League. He should have celebrated the fact that he had won a trophy for Tottenham and waited maybe another 6 months or even a year, just take a year out and then maybe look for the right team that will suit your managerial style. Because everyone kept saying Nottingham Forest players and their setup and their style of play doesn't suit Angeball. It doesn't suit the way that Postecoglou plays his game. So why would he accept that job? Simply because the owner is also Greek? Surely it's not because of that. Why did Marinakis choose to employ Ange Postecoglou? Is it simply because he's Greek? Surely it's not because of that. Now, like I said, he went into another job too soon. He should have celebrated a little bit longer. He should have just enjoyed a little vacation, if not for a year, just for 6 months. And then while you're waiting those 6 months, look for what team, even if that means looking at championship teams that you could possibly bring up into the Premier League. Why wasn't he thinking about that? Because he was managing at Celtic, and the Scottish League, I wouldn't even say is at the same level as the Championship is here in England. However, Celtic and Rangers could possibly, at least Celtic, could possibly challenge in the Championship or could be there or thereabouts that level. Obviously, they play in Champions League, which is a higher level. Not that they do great, but they play at that level. So I'd consider Celtic at least to be at Championship level, right? So why didn't he look at Championship teams to then maybe say, okay, that looks like that team or those players there can play Angeball, can adapt to my tactics, adapt to my philosophy, my way of football, and then bring that team up into the Premier League, because then it'll be your team. You brought them up, you promoted them, and surely they will still play for you the way they played in the Championship in the Premier League. Even if that means they might not do that well or might be in a relegation battle, it still wouldn't look as bad on you as going into a club a month and a half, 2 months after getting sacked, and then being an absolute joke and getting sacked within, 24 days, 30 days, less than a month. Because of international break, obviously, that was about 2 weeks. So it all doesn't make sense. But then the whole sacking of Nuno Espirito Santo didn't make sense. For some people, it did. Obviously, they're saying Edu fell out with him. He wanted to control certain things. Edu was given control of certain things. They might have clashed. They might have butted head with each other's paws. But it all doesn't make sense. So Nuno Espirito Santo leaves, who had them near enough into the Champions League. He gets sacked. And then a manager who nearly relegated another Premier League team comes in and gets sacked less than 3 weeks in the job. So it all doesn't really make sense. Nobody really understands what Marinakis is doing. He owns other football teams. He's been within football for many years. So surely he's a smart man. He knows what he's doing. He got Nuno in. He brought loads of players in. So surely he knows what he's doing. It's just all confusing. However, the latest news and today's breaking news is that Sean Dyche is in talk. Now, Sean Dyche is a Premier League fireman or firefighter, as they call it, because he can go into the basement and by hook and by crook get those teams out of the bottom three and hopefully keep them within the Premier League. And that's all Nottingham Forest can hope for so far. So unlucky, Ange Postecoglou. I do feel sad for you on a human level. I do pity for you. I do understand that you're probably going through a lot of pain. Your family might be going through a lot of pain, and that's never nice. I don't wish that upon anyone. I would never want to see any manager suffer like that or have that kind of embarrassment or look like a joke, because everyone's making it out to be a joke. Obviously, especially opposition fans and so on and so forth. But it's sad. I don't like people. I don't like humans going through that kind of stress and pressure. And I'm sure it may even affect, I wouldn't say I'm sure, but it probably affects his family also. But hopefully he bounces back. He looks like a strong man. He says, I'm a fighter. He says, I used to fight on the playground and all that. So I'm sure he can pick himself up. And I did read somewhere, or maybe I'm wrong, that he's already been looked at by certain clubs, or he's already on the prowl looking for another job. But that's the segment on Ange Postecoglou. Unfortunately, he got sacked by Nottingham Forest. I'm sure he'll bounce back and he'll get back on his feet, and I hope he does so soon. So good luck, Ange. But we move on to the next subject. Now, the next topic is, can Manchester City pip Arsenal? Now, Manchester City obviously won their game this weekend. They beat Everton 2-0. Jack Grealish couldn't play for Everton, obviously being on loan from Manchester City. So that was a big miss for Everton and David Moyes. But Manchester City have a player in Erling Haaland that I don't think exists at the moment anywhere else. I saw on Match of the Day that they done the analysis, and they also put up the stats of Erling Haaland, comparing them to Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe. And he pipped both of them in the stats. And like I said, that's why I think there is no player or no striker that is striking at the moment that is doing a job as well as Erling Haaland. Now, whether you like him or hate him, I always say this: he's an absolute terminator, violator, menace, guys. I'm telling you, he's picking up the ball halfway up the pitch now. He's blocking balls. Like one of the goals yesterday was so ridiculous. He put his leg in the air to block a pass from one of the Everton players. He brings it down, plays it to his teammate, makes the run, gets the ball back, scores the goal. It's absolutely, I wouldn't even say ridiculous, because that's not good enough of a word. So I'm going to use the word that I made up. It's redonkulous. I'm telling you, this is worse than ridiculous. This is redonkulous. This player is so good at the moment. He is in such form. This player at the moment has 20 odd goals in about 12 or 13 games for club and country. That is absolute top, elite, prime, diamond level, all of that. That's just top elite football, guys. That's just fantastic. The topic is obviously not called Erling Haaland. It's called, can Manchester City pip Arsenal in this title race? Yes, they can. But that all remains, and that all depends on the number one striker in the world, like I was talking about, Erling Haaland, staying fit or staying in this kind of form. Because if you take Erling Haaland out of the game against Everton, that game is a 0-0. They're not winning that game, and possibly Everton could have got a goal out of it and nicked a 1-0 win at the Etihad Stadium. But if they continue playing like this, not that well, I mean, not bad, but not to the best of the Manchester City that we know. But Erling Haaland constantly just comes up with the goods and scores braces and hat-tricks and all of that. And then other players chip in with goals as well. Of course they can pip Arsenal, because to me, they're the favourites. I chose them from the start of the season, and I've explained why. Pep Guardiola, the best manager in the world. Erling Haaland, the best striker in the world. What else? And Pep Guardiola doesn't go more than one season trophyless. One season is too much for him. So this season, he will win a trophy. Now, would that be the Premier League? Hopefully not. But can they? Of course. And they are the favourites to win the Premier League. They have everything in place. It's just needing to click that little bit more. And once it does, believe me, it is going to look dangerous. To me, they're more favourites than Liverpool. Liverpool's obviously still in it. They still have a chance. But it's looking a little bit dangerous for Liverpool, because they've walked into a rut of the players. I don't think they're all seeing eye to eye, because Virgil van Dijk yesterday having a go at Kirkes and this and that, and for like absolutely no reason. He just put his head in the way of a ball to get, he kicked the ball in his face, and then he got upset about him. It's just, anyway, it looks like not all the players are seeing eye to eye. They're not all playing together. Several times I've seen Kirkes make an overlap around Cody Gakpo, where Cody could have played him in and he could have crossed the ball for Isak to get a header on it or to try and score a goal. Cody Gakpo kept refusing to give the ball to Kerkez. And also, now, this is things I'm seeing. I might be turning a crumb into a cookie, but it really looks like that. So, like I said, they've walked into a rut that it's very dangerous what is happening at Liverpool at the moment. But they have the manpower. They have a manager that's a winner, because obviously he's already won the Premier League. So I'm sure they can bounce back and still mount a title challenge. But let's go back to Man City. So Man City, can they pip Arsenal? Yes, they can. They may well do so. It wouldn't be a shock to me if they did. I just think we're not favourites yet because we haven't won it, because we're not really playing the football of champions yet. Is that still to come? I hope so. But can Manchester City pip Arsenal to the title? Yes, they can. Do I want them to? Well, obviously not. And I'm hoping and I'm praying they won't. I don't want Erling Haaland to get injured. I don't wish that upon no player, because he shouldn't do things like that. But if he does get injured, I'll be honest and say their chances will drop drastically. So good luck, Manchester City. Hopefully you lose the next 5 games and we make the gap bigger and we make the gap bigger between ourselves and everyone else in the Premier League. It's only 3 points now. I'm hoping it's going to be 13 soon. And once we have that much of a gap between us and the ones behind us, maybe I can call us favourites. Until then, unfortunately, Manchester City are the favourites. Now let's move on to the next topic. That's the rest of the Premier League games of the weekend. There's obviously a game tonight, which we're going to watch and enjoy. There's obviously a game tonight. Enjoy that, guys. It's going to be West Ham versus Brentford, another London derby. Should be a good game. We'll look out for that one. But let's talk about the rest of the games of the weekends. Let's go. Right now, we're going to talk about the rest of the Premier League games of the weekend. Obviously, we talked about some of them. So the first game was on Saturday at 12:30. That was Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. So that was Nottingham Forest 0, Chelsea 3. That was the axe being dropped on Ange Postecoglou. It was the final nail in the coffin. It was the adios, the Auf Wiedersehen, the ciao, the fi amanillah, the salam alaikum, all of that. So Chelsea with another win. Great for them. They needed that. Obviously, having beaten Liverpool as well. They're starting to make a small little run. Let's see what they can do. Obviously, we've got Champions League games this week coming up as well. So it was a great win for Chelsea. Let's see what they do in their next game. There's nothing much to say other than Nottingham Forest did try their best. They absolutely tried. The ball just did not want to go in. Chance after chance after chance. It's not like they were playing badly or didn't create anything. It was just very unfortunate. And also the goalkeeper was a little bit to blame for some of the goals. Very sloppy with his saves. So it's very unfortunate for Nottingham Forest. But they're in talks with Sean Dyche. And if he comes in, hopefully he will steady the ship. Hopefully they'll put them back on course and start climbing the table and start dominating in the Europa League and possibly maybe win the Europa League this season. You never know, guys. Crazier things have happened in football. So that was the game at 12:30 at the City Ground between Nottingham Forest and Chelsea. The next game I want to talk about is Sunderland Wolves. Sunderland again with another win. They've climbed up into the top 10 of the Premier League. They're still climbing. Reggie Labrie is doing great at Sunderland. I don't know much about him. He seems like, obviously, with the players they've brought in, the manpower that has some experience like Xhaka in the Premier League and the rest of them as well. You had to gel them together really quick. And they're playing, guys, and they're winning and they're scoring goals. I mean, they beat Leeds. I remember watching that game. Leeds should have battered and laid the smackdown on Sunderland. But Sunderland somehow nicked a 1-0 win at Ellen Road. So, guys, they're doing it also by hook and by crook. They're winning games. Against Wolves, it was a bit different. They were playing at home. 2 great goals. Wolves will be, when I say 2 great goals, one of them was an own goal. So Wolves will be a little bit disappointed with that. But bless him, the young man couldn't do nothing about it. I forgot his name now, to be honest with you. But he couldn't do much about it. He tried to clear it as the cross came in, and he just kind of shot it straight. He wrong-footed his keeper, and the goal just went in. That was for the second goal. So Sunderland doing very well, steady, climbing up the Premier League table. They might even finish in a European spot, maybe Conference, maybe Europa. I doubt they'll get into the Champions League spots, but they're doing very well, so congratulations on Sunderland. Unlucky Wolves are staring at a relegation battle. They have not won a single game in the Premier League yet. It's looking tough, guys, for Wolves. I'll be honest, it's looking horrible. However, the next few games they have is against Burnley and other teams that are within sort of their region of the league table, and those are obviously 6-pointers for them, so they need to win those games. So good luck, Wolves. Unlucky again. Better next time, hopefully. And it's a shame if Wolves get relegated, but then it's a shame for any club to get relegated. So good luck, Wolves. That was a bad loss, but it was away from home. So hopefully the next game they can make it right. Now, Burnley Leeds. Burnley, Scott Parker beating Leeds at home 2-0. It was a wonderful game, wonderful goals. It's not much to say about that game. Burnley, kind of like a mixed bag at the moment, wins and losses. Hopefully Scott Parker can continue doing a great job and really cement them as a great and established Premier League team. We know Victor Kompany was there, obviously, and they went down that season. But they're yo-yoing up and down the Premier League. Hopefully Scott Parker can keep them there now and get better and better. So well done. They have a lot of good young players as well coming through the ranks. So good luck to Burnley. Leeds, unfortunately, another loss. Although they've got a couple of wins, it's now becoming like it's getting from bad to worse for Leeds now. So can they maintain themselves or keep themselves in the Premier League? We still have to see. It's not looking great, but you never know. Things do turn around, and we'll see how Leeds do. They are very good at home. It's just away from home that they take most of the losses. Hopefully, if they win a lot of games at home, they can balance and just get a few draws away from home and just keep themselves in the Premier League, because Leeds is a huge club and is deserving of being in the Premier League for the size it is. I think it's a one-city club as well. So, good luck to Leeds. Unlucky against Burnley. Better next time. Now, the next game was the Spice Bomb of the weekend, guys. This was the game to watch. This was the game to be at. This was the absolute peak of the Premier League this weekend, other than the Liverpool-Manchester United game. But Crystal Palace Bournemouth, guys. You're talking about Areola and Glasner, 2 top managers in the Premier League, 2 of the best around Europe, probably around the world. I doubt they'll stay at their current clubs much longer. They probably get snapped up, if not January, more than likely in the summer. Somebody will come in for them. They're doing an absolutely fantastic, unbelievable job at both their clubs. I'm going to say that one more time. They're both doing an unbelievable job at their clubs. A lot of fans from other clubs would love to see them managing their club. So obviously, like I said, they won't stay at their respected clubs at the moment, not for long, but they're doing an absolutely wonderful job. And both teams, by the way, I'm going to talk about the game and the goals, but both teams being stripped of a lot of their players this season, guys, and still being able to do what they're doing, especially Bournemouth as well. It's absolutely redonkulous. It's absolutely redonkulous. It is so fantastic. Job well done for both the managers. But let's talk about the game a little bit. So Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3. Bournemouth will be kicking themselves a little bit, because I believe they went 2-0 up at one point. Mateta having scored for France in the internationals. I think it was his first France call-up, and there was this whole situation with Wilfred Zaha. I'm not really going to talk about it. Anyway, so there was this whole thing in the news about that. But Jean-Philippe Mateta, absolutely fantastic. Brought them back to 2-2. Bournemouth went up 3-2 at the end of the game in injury time, but somehow Crystal Palace get a penalty, and Jean-Philippe Mateta again steps up, scores. On top of that, he had a last kick of the ball chance to, I believe, headed the ball in for a fourth. No, not headed. So it was like right in front of the goal. All he had to do is tap it in. It kind of came off of a little bounce or a divot on the pitch where it bounced awkwardly, and he tried to kind of on the volley kick it, but he kicked it over the goal, and he was kicking himself after that because that was an opportunity to win the game 4-3. But Kluivert came up with the goods as well, playing good for Bournemouth. But Jean-Philippe Mateta was obviously the man of the match. It was an absolute spice bomb. It was fantastic. It was great end-to-end football. Great for the neutral. Great for the spectators. And a great advertisement for the Premier League and English football, guys. So that was absolutely fantastic. Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3. Then we go to Brighton 2, Newcastle 1. Also a great game. Obviously, by the way, guys, all of these games, I just watched the highlights. The only games that I fully watched was the Arsenal and the Liverpool, Manchester United. Everything else is just highlights. So Brighton, Newcastle, Danny Welbeck, absolutely fantastic servant to Brighton. I believe he deserves a call up for England to get a little bit more caps because we don't have much strikers for England. And if one of them or two of them get injured, we really need people that actually know how to put the ball in the net. So Danny Welbeck at the moment in his form does deserve an England call up. I'm not sure why Tuchel's not looking at him. I know he's much older now and in his 30s, but the way he's playing, he's got at least another 3-4 years left, guys. That's the truth. I'm sure he's looking after himself. He's training well. He looks fit, but the form he's in at the moment, scoring a brace for Brighton, beating Newcastle at home, it's absolutely fantastic. However, the Newcastle goal, Voltemada, a lot of people talking about like Isak and Wirtz at Liverpool having to gel, having to adapt to the Premier League, having to do this, do that. There's other players that have come in from the Bundesliga or from other places in Europe that have fitted in immediately, start playing immediately, didn't need to adjust or anything like that. Voltemada is one of them, came in, great goal, kind of like a back heel flick, like kind of like, you know, intended. So it was absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, it wasn't a winning goal. It was the equalizer, but Danny Welbeck came up with the goods. So Brighton at home win 2-1 against Newcastle. Now, the next game I've talked about a little bit. Man City 2, Everton 0. Jack Grealish on loan at Everton couldn't play. That was a big, huge miss for Everton and David Moyes. Erling Haaland, similar to Danny Welbeck, but obviously on a different level, but very similar, getting a brace, beating the opposition and making sure their team gets the 3 points. Nothing much to say about that. Erling Haaland came up with the goods, and like I said before, if Erling Haaland didn't play, that game probably would have been a 0-0, or Everton might have even nicked a 1-0, guys. So yeah, Fulham, Arsenal, I've talked about it already. Really not much to say. A very bad first half from Arsenal. Second half got a little bit better. We played more. However, what we did do was defend very well. We played as a unit very well. It just didn't look like Arsenal football. But it doesn't matter because all we needed was the 3 points. And Fulham did do very well. They did set up very well. And they stopped us from playing our free-flowing football. But we got the 3 points at the end. Thank you, Leandro Trossard. That's pretty much it, guys. That's the Fulham-Arsenal game. The next game is a joke. Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Now I'm laughing because I work with Tottenham fans. I know a lot of Tottenham fans. And I literally told them, I swear to God, I put my hand up. I told them, I said, you lot are losing this game against Aston Villa. Aston Villa has just come into some form. Morgan Rodgers has just come into some form. and you guys play bad at home. I literally told them, I said, you've already got losses at home. You have a draw against Wolves, that got beaten by Sunderland. So it's kind of like, at home, Tottenham are not great. They're not great. They're not a great team in general. Everybody had their hopes up with Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank is a fantastic manager. I just think anyone that goes in to Tottenham will look like an absolute joke, which is so slowly starting to creep up on Thomas Frank as well. Tottenham fans starting to, blame him and his decisions, his tactics, where is putting certain players. So we'll see what happens with that, because if they sack Thomas Frank, then that's going to look absolutely ridiculous. It's going to become even more of a joke. But yeah, that's it. So Tottenham went up. I think Bentancur scored in like the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes. When I saw that, I was like, yeah, they're going to destroy Aston Villa, because not long after, Kudus as well had the ball in the net. It was ruled offside. It just went from bad to worse after that. It went from bad to worse, guys. Out the pan and into the fire for Tottenham. An absolutely wonderful, fantastic goal from Morgan Rogers, who has also scored on international duty. So he's come into some form. And the second goal was also absolutely fantastic. What a shot from outside the box. So that rounds it all up pretty much. Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Tottenham lose at home again. It's embarrassing. It's a joke. It's Spursy. Last game was the game, obviously, I watched. We talked about it already, so I'm not going to do too much about that. But Liverpool 1, Manchester United 2. Fantastic advertisement for the Premier League. Fantastic game. So happy that Liverpool lost and Manchester United won. Not because it's Manchester United, it could have been anyone, but I'm just happy that they beat Liverpool. And obviously they needed that for their morale, for their mentality, for their everything, their energy, their hunger, their pride. They needed that win at Anfield and they got it. Liverpool 1, Manchester United 2. And that's pretty much it, guys. That rounds it all up. Obviously, as I say always, and I don't need to remind you guys, but like, share, subscribe, repost, comment, remix, do this, do that, all of this, all of that. And I hope to see you at the podcast. Please look out for the podcast as well. TGS podcast. So TGS standing for the Gun Shop Talk. Gun with a double N standing for Gunners. So TGS podcast, the Gun Shop Talk. Look out for that. Weekly gets dropped, where we talk some more about what's happening in the news, and we talk about some other things, and we give some opinions and thoughts. And yeah, guys, so look out for that. And obviously, look out for the watch-alongs as well. And thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you again, guys. Boom!